week at Ask The Dropouts, Steph and I were asked to speak at the DC International Short Film Festival about action filmmaking. It was a long panel, so I just cut out the questions that we answered. Hope you guys enjoy, and congratulations to everyone that submitted at the festival.
Part of a group called Art School Dropouts. We are YouTubers and filmmakers on YouTube, and we make quite a bit of martial arts action films.
What she said.
Yeah.
What she said.
Oh.
I'm Joey, man. Yeah, here we go. Go ahead.
Joey
So I'm
Jersey,
Joey.
Joey.
There we go. Right. I'm Joey, man. Like I said, I'm the second half of Art School Dropouts. We do, like I said, martial arts action comedy specifically. It's kind of like our niche. And yeah, so the two heads here of Art School Dropouts, right? So yeah.
Next.
Like I was always enthralled by, I guess, like TV Chinese kung fu dramas, and I think my sifu in China back then actually used to work for Robert Samuels. I don't know if you guys know one of the first. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and that's kind of like how I kind of got into it. Like my sifu eventually was kind of against me trying to pursue anything that's in like in the performance world of kung fu. But so obviously what I'm doing now is not what he wants, but he's not here anymore, so it's fine with me. But yeah, basically the thing is like, basically I think a lot of Asian kids that grew up during the 80s grew up watching Jackie Chan. First movie was like Operation Condor, Armor of God, and just seeing how Jackie just took over the screen and like the way that he would tell stories with his body, with his face. And I already came from a kung fu like family background and stuff like that. That's kind of what I wanted to do. And being an immigrant, moving here to America, it's like the passion never stopped. Even though it was a lot harder to find kung fu movies at that point in time, like during the 90s, it was like impossible, right? So, but everything from seeing Sammo Hung like pop up in martial law on TV, I was like, oh shit, that's one of my old idols or whatnot, and just seeing all of that. And eventually, I never stopped wanting to tell my own stories, being an immigrant here in America. Like I think the stories that I had were different, and in terms of like the martial arts action, I never, like, I think I liked more the vaudevillian golden era of Hollywood when they were like swashbuckling rather than the, I guess, like modern day stunts of like American, like American Hollywood type of stuff. I guess it's like I felt like sword fighting back then felt like how they choreographed it, how they did it, like it felt more Hong Kong than like the American cowboy style of like stunts and action that they brought like to Hollywood. But yeah, but basically then I traveled around the world. I did stuff in Taiwan, I did stunts in Japan, got injured, got really sick, figured that I should just not pursue that life anymore, came back here. But then I think after a while I kind of quit everything and I did YouTube, and it's the happiest I've ever been. So I'm a filmmaker on YouTube, which is definitely difficult because 93% of people on YouTube are kids like 13 and under. So and something that's doing something very niche like this, it's very, very hard, but it's feeds the soul more than anything. That's why, and that's what we've been doing now for like about 9 years now, and it's like steady, but like it's good, feeds the soul, right?
Happiness is worth a lot.
Yes, definitely. It's like
a
it's something I would have done like till the end of my days, really. So it's not about the money anymore, right? Because like I think that doing something, if you continually do something without the money, then there has to be some good reason for it, right? And if it's not to better your craft, then what are you doing it for, right? So yeah.
Well said. Love that.
Okay, so my story is a little bit different than everyone else's. I am not a stunt woman. I don't do stunts. I do action scenes. I do fight scenes in our group and like for other projects, but I like make sure that I make that clear division that I do not do stunts. I think stunts is extremely difficult. You guys do recs, you guys do falls. Like, I don't do that. I'm not trained with that. But I've been doing martial arts since I was like 7 years old, and I grew up watching a lot of like old school Jet Li, Donnie Yen, and Jackie Chan movies. My dad would just like make me watch them. So I grew up on those. But growing up, I didn't think I would be an actress or making films. I actually went to college studying pharmaceutical and healthcare business. Graduated school, worked a little bit, and like during that time I like modeled, and I was like, you know what, I want to do acting. And I have a background in martial arts, and then just so happens like we had a mutual friend, he connected like me and Joey, and like being in projects, it's like it's really cool to be able to create something and like have a whole team behind it and like see the end product. And I knew nothing about filmmaking, cameras, like angles, the 180 rule, like none of that. And I had to learn everything brand new. And I mean, it's been quite a journey. I have been getting a lot of experience on different sets and like working on our projects. And but yeah, I absolutely love it. I don't use my pharmaceutical knowledge, but I guess I kind of use the business knowledge because I mean, our school dropouts are a business.
I think that's the difference too. Like you
Yeah.
guys being in Hollywood and us doing like indie. It's like obviously like as an indie filmmaker, part of it is also marketing, right? Like you have to market your stuff. That's just the name of the game now, right?
Yeah.
So I think.
And I feel like a big part is like honestly, most filmmakers do not know how to market their films.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
Definitely.
like, yes, we may be on a panel where it's like talking about like stunts and action, but at the end of the day, you also need like, you know, a good film and a good story, and it's the filmmaking aspect, and that's what Joey and I we focus on a lot. It's like the storytelling, and not just the action and the stunts. But yeah, I guess that's kind of how I fell into it.
I think that's a great segue into something else I wanted to talk about, which is today's kind of climate. It's so everything's so saturated, right? You can, I mean, it's getting harder and harder to hold people's attention.
Yes.
So how do you guys? I guess this is kind of a general question. You can take it any direction you want. How do you all deal with that? How do you guys go about marketing yourselves? Speaking of, that people have to know how to market. So what are some strategies and advice you would give people in that regard about like how to go about getting work, how to get your name out there?
I think it depends on like what your position is. If you're a stuntman, like your marketing is different than a filmmaker's, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like even if you're like a sound design person, like that's different marketing. You have to like, but at the end of the day, I think having quality content and like
That always wins.
But
putting yourself out there, and even if you don't have quality content, to show that like, I mean, we're on YouTube. If you watch some of our stuff years ago, trash, complete trash. Like, I'll be completely honest, it's terrible, right? Like, you guys could go check them out. We're not shy about that. Go to our like YouTube channel, and you guys could go back like 7 years ago, and it's like, that sucks.
But I think it's also like the idea, like you have to market yourself towards the market that you really want to, right? Like,
Yes.
and I think as a creative, I didn't know that I wanted to do that because it felt like I was taken away from the creative aspect of like the art that I'm doing. And now when everybody says like, oh, content creation, it's like, it's kind of, it hurts, right? Because it's like,
It's changed.
yeah,
It's changed from creating content to creating content.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The drip of it all.
And the
versus-
attention
Right.
span to hold
Yeah.
somebody now, no
Right.
one is willing to sit and actually like go on their phone and watch an opening credit to your movie. Like it needs to go like
I'm gonna
there.
play devil's advocate, right? Because like I'm just saying,
We
like
do
that-
this all the time.
right? The idea is that you know, like content creation, it just seems like it's just a product, right? And the thing is, like, if I'm putting my heart into it and I'm making a movie, like it's my art, right? It's not a product, it's my art. But I know that obviously to get it to the eyes of the people, there has to be some sort of marketing to make it feel like a product for people to watch it, right? But I don't think that attention is short. I think it's just certain people are just more acclimated to a type of thing to watch, right?
So here's a rabbit hole that I could actually enjoy going down with you, I think. Like, when it comes to the online content, there's the people that can just scroll through TikTok. I can't necessarily do that, but and there's 15 seconds less, sometimes a minute. And then on the flip side, there's the 4-hour-long podcast format.
Yes.
And I'll jam to that way more than I probably should. But then with the content that you're talking about and kind of the stuff, the short film world that we kind of grew up in our generation, everything like that 10 to 20 minute thing, no one wants to watch anything it either has to be terminally short or terminally long.
Yeah.
The in-between. The in-between is
The
really hard for a lot
in-between
of
is
people.
where you have to really create a different kind of quality that I think attracts people.
But it's also like who is your market?
Right.
I feel like a lot of
Very
times
important
filmmakers
question.
are like,
Yes.
this movie, it can reach children, it can reach adults, it's great for
It's
all
for
ages, all
everyone.
ethnicities, all religions, all like it. You can't view
You
your
have to niche it.
products, your
Yeah.
like your baby, your film like that, because I mean, we're on YouTube. We do not cater to children. If we did, we
Yeah.
could do clickbait content. It's
I mean,
not
isn't
hard.
that's the thing, right? Like, it's like somebody could, like what you're saying about the 20-minute thing, people wouldn't watch it, but then you would have somebody make like a 20-minute fan film of Star Wars.
And that could get watched.
Yeah, because
But
everybody
your
already knows what
IP,
Star Wars
right?
is, right?
Yeah.
Like you have
Yeah.
all these companies that already put in billions and billions of dollars
Yes.
of research and material into an IP that people all over the world already know. That's why most filmmakers on YouTube, they wouldn't make anything original because they know that it's probably only going to get like 5 views, like if they have no viewership or follower count on YouTube. But that, I think that's the problem, right? I think that's how you actually learn how to make your stories and write something, and become just a better filmmaker instead of just like, oh, this is Star Wars world,
Yeah.
the Force, the Jedi. You guys already know all of that shit, right? So, or like it's
It's got a
new,
built-in audience.
yeah, it's got a built-in
Yeah.
audience. So
All you have
like,
to do is say Star Wars, and
Yeah.
people are like, okay, yes.
yeah, or it's like the next, I don't know, like the anime of the year, like it's
Yeah.
the basic
But
bitch
it's
like
like,
way of making.
Who's like I said,
content.
who's your audience? And I think first and foremost, you should be your first audience and only audience.
Right.
If you are not happy making your film, and like it just doesn't feel good if you're trying to cater to the masses.
I grew up with YouTube in the early 2010s watching all the LBP fights.
Oh man, yeah, Manny and
Like-
stuff, yeah, dude.
And some of those were story driven, but for the most
Yes.
part, at a certain point, it became, this is my real material, this is my real material. And
Yeah.
that's not harshing on any of it, because
Yeah,
he
no.
could tell more story through fight than a lot of filmmakers can tell through an
Yes, of
entire
course.
movie.
But I mean, that's why he's one of the prominent like choreographers out there now with Vlad, everybody. Like they literally, like those people that took the idea of what they learned from Hong Kong cinema and they applied it to what American action is. Because like during that time, it was like what, like Bourne, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Bourne movies. It's
Yeah.
like it's not like if you really watch it, it's not really. It's not really like action scenes. It's like action montages, right? It's like
Yeah.
shake. You see the hands. You see
Yeah.
the pen. Someone gets stabbed, and I think it's like the audience are just trying to piece together what happened, right?
Well, and the first one's the only one that has any clear editing.
Yeah,
The
right.
third one a little bit, but the first one, you go back to the first one, and everybody was like, it's so cool, it's kind of choppy, kind of shaky.
Right.
And then you watch the second one, and you're like, "Ugh," they just put it in a salad shredder or
Right.
something. It's just
Things
it's a salad
happened, there
shredder.
was
thing.
violence.
Yeah. But yeah, and so that kind of happened in Hollywood, and now it's kind of coming back, and the
Yeah.
clear Hong Kong style is a little bit more
But I think
evident.
it's not even really Hong Kong. It's like this is I think now the action in Hollywood is very much like the quintessential American style of action where it's like like there's choreography now, but it's still haymakers, like big moves into like it's still very brawly in terms of the idea, but now there's more complexity in movements with the camera movement where they show you the clearance, but it definitely was like not the way it used to be, right? Like I guess when like I said, when cowboys were the first stuntmen in Hollywood, they would do all the brawl stuff like James Cagney, when they would just kind of throw each other super wide, and then
Yeah.
it becomes right, like stuff like that. But then it's also different when you like I said, like during the vaudevillian like sword fighting era, it's like their choreography. I don't know. I guess I didn't really study up on that, but definitely like how they did it was
Well, they were real fencers,
Yeah.
some of them, and then
But
because
it-
I come from a little bit of that lineage
Right.
through the stage combat world,
Right.
and they cared about story
yeah, but then even
with
they
the vaudeville and everything.
Yeah, but even they had like the whole argument of like, oh, this is like the fencing for movies and like real fencing. It's like the showy style,
But
and
they-
I really like the showy style.
But they found a way to connect it. If you watch
Yeah.
the final fight from the Mark of Zorro with Tyrone Power and
Yes.
Michael Rathbone, that's a
Yes.
high-level fencer and a guy that could keep up with him, and it's all story-driven for the final sword fight.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
It still holds up to date. It's still as fast as
I
anything that
I
I've
for-
ever seen.
I forgot what movie it was, but it definitely was like this. Shoot, I have to like look back, but it's like there are. I mean, there's like a million swashbuckling movies like they're on the ship, so never mind. Yeah, but like definitely, it's like it's just a difference of like style, and I think, but obviously then that speed of how they were doing in Mark Resort, it's not like say any Marvel movie now, right? You can, like, as a person that doesn't do fencing or martial arts, you can clearly see, like, oh, they're punching, they're kicking, and like you can see it. But if you watch like an old Hong Kong film, it's like their jabs are like, 3-frame jabs, right? It's fast, it's quick, right? And even their big hits are big hits, and they would have to slow it down like on impact just to show like, oh, this dude like really got hit or something like that. But here, like even Shang-Chi, it's like it's kickboxing with like kung fu poses. It's not really kung fu, but it's still, it's still Hollywood style. Like,
Gone are the days of Snake and the Eagle's shadow.
Yeah, exactly, right? No one, but then again, I guess that's the point when people think that. I think like those style of movies, I think it's too hyper. It's too like not realistic to people now, and for American action films that like it would only work in Marvel movies or superhero movies, right? So
that's why there's so many like superhero movies. But also, it's like there's also a difference because I mean Hollywood has the budget. I don't know about you guys, but we don't have big budgets to kind of let's do a bunch of fight scenes and shoot it from all different angles. Like everything has to be planned.
But Bollywood has like the same. Like I don't know if people actually been watching Bollywood action films like with martial arts and like they have money and they actually are kind of more akin to like old school like Hong Kong films and
but also some of those productions are bringing people from over here.
Vlad and everybody same people,
they're going over there and hasn't learned Elvin over there a bunch or something.
I'm pretty sure, but I know that definitely I know Vlad likes it there because he's like I could do whatever I want. Right, and they will.
That's the dream.
If you've seen some of those movies, they literally do everything and anything they want.
Like
it's amazing how things seem to always come back around, right?
Yeah.
Fashion, right? You were saying, and now we're just the things you were talking about where it started. It seems to come circling back around. I'm going to take us down a slightly different path now.
Okay.
I would like to hear from the ladies up here because I think I just think it's interesting. People think of stunts, and nowadays I'm sure it's better than it was. I'm sure you can tell me, but I think stereotypically everybody thinks men. Right? And so I would like to hear, Abra, from you about your experience as a woman. I'm sure you've asked this question before, but your experience as a woman in the stunt world, and if you've had challenges, have you had any issues with that specifically? And if not, that's great, and kind of you can take it whatever direction you want. That's great. So I'm gonna, because she mentioned martial arts, we're gonna jump down to you, Stephanie, and your experience with it. I'm sure you can maybe relate, maybe not, to what she was saying.
A little bit. So, like I said before, I do like mostly fight scenes. And unfortunately, being an Asian woman that does martial arts, typically I get typecast as the ninja assassin or sexy ninja assassin or sexy ninja assassin prostitute. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And I'm a small Asian girl. And it's kind of hard when a lot of times I get typecast in that way. Fortunately for our projects, like Joey's very, very adamant about like, hey, we don't need to show you being hot or sexy when your martial arts and your skill can speak for you and to make you look awesome and cool. But unfortunately, I have been put in situations where, for example, myself and our friend Angela, like we were on a feature film production. We were called in because the stunt coordinator knew us. We didn't have to go to rehearsal or anything. And I guess when they see small Asian girls just kind of show up, they're like, oh, what are you here for?
Oh, no.
So unfortunately, the stunt group didn't really welcome us. We had to sign our papers on a hood of a car. And then when we finally went through choreography with the coordinator, we're like, okay, cool. So we got it. It was quick and easy. During lunch, we decided, hey, let's go to the lead and ask if we could rehearse. And he looked us up and down and he was like, oh, you girls got it. And it's like, really? Like, we just want to practice, be professional. And he's like, no, you girls got it. And what ended up happening, the film got finished, but apparently us girls performed so well, they cut our scene because it made the lead look bad.
Oh my gosh.
So we're like, okay, well that was a waste. And I mean, other situations.
You get paid though?
Yeah, I got paid.
Very good.
It was a
Right.
SAG
That's
feature.
not bad.
I got like my card or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right,
Still,
cool. But it's like, it's a terrible experience.
Right.
And another time where it's like, oh, hey, this is what the project is about. It's like post-apocalyptic, Mad Max style. You're a woman. It's a world full of women.
Yep.
And apparently the Asians are the bad guys. And instead of just being Mad Max, I had to wear a schoolgirl outfit.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And fight in it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and it's
That
like,
makes sense.
well, crap, I'm
Right.
stuck in Vegas. I can't really argue because I want to get home.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, so that's why, like,
You're like, well, this makes sense.
Yeah.
This is what I would pick to wear if I was
I
going,
know,
going into
right?
battle.
Exactly.
Right? This is exactly what I would
but
wear.
that's why,
Everybody
like,
got spikes and shit, and they're ready
yeah,
to fight.
everybody else, it looks like typical,
like
but
Sailor
for
Moon
some
and shit,
reason,
like,
we're
it was
just
fine.
a skirt.
And this was
yeah.
unironic.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
Yep,
They weren't
that's what
going
they
like,
wanted.
Oh, we're making a meta commentary on the.
And it
on
was
the-
like,
no.
it was such a
Yeah.
bad production. The director was just like, "Hey, are you Chinese?" And I'm like, "No."
Oh,
wow.
And it's like, "Oh my God,
Good
do
to
you
share all these things?
do you
because I-
speak Chinese?"
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, can you do a Chinese accent? I'm like,
What?
no. And then she's like, "Are you
You're like,
willing
just
to
stop
learn
now.
Chinese?" It was honestly like the worst production I've ever been a part of. And
It looks good though.
it looked good.
It looks
It did look good. I did get punched in the face twice because the lead, she was a multi-world champion apparently, but she couldn't figure out not to hit my face while she's sitting on me.
That
And things like
issue.
that happens. And I mean, as the person being the bad guy, you can't really say anything.
But that's the thing too,
Um,
though, with the whole like female action, like Asian stereotypes. Like the fact alone that I come from. I mean, like Hong Kong cinema has like Yukari Oshima, Moon Lee, like all these iron like action angels since like the
Yes.
80s. Like there are so many examples of how to make female characters badass, right? Like
I'm really happy, like, the progression that it has been, like, now, but it's still really reliant on the sexual appeal of the woman.
Mhm.
And it's like, she doesn't need to be in tight tights to do this fight scene. Like, she doesn't need to show midriffs.
Right.
I mean, you could put her in full armor, she could still whoop-ass.
Yo,
like-
I mean, even like
Come
Cynthia
on,
Rothrock was rocking like
I
mom
know.
jeans, and she was like,
Yeah,
dope,
and
right?
it was badass. Let the action speak for itself.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a woman basically practically naked to do a fight scene. Plus, it's harder on the stunt actors to do falls if they literally have no padding. That's why I don't do
Exactly.
stunts.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm tiny. The second I fall, I'm gonna break something. So that's why I'm like, you can't
Right.
say I'm a stunt woman. I'm like, I'm not a stunt woman. Mad respect to all the stunt women. Like, you, girl, yeah, go for it.